If you're curious about all the different things that I look for in a bike fit, I'll show you now. Now, this isn't a comprehensive list and like goes into the fine little details that we can do at the end, but this is kind of a basic bike fit. These are the basics that I run through in order to determine most aerodynamic position and the most comfort for your body. Now, I'm a bike fitter, but I'm also a doctor of physical therapy. And I've been a physical therapist for over 10 years now. And I've worked with all sorts of athletes in the clinic. I've also been a cyclist for over 20 years, and I worked in a bike shop for at least 8 years, like growing up through high school and into my college years. So although I don't know everything about bikes, but I do have a wide variety of skills and knowledge in order to help cyclists and triathletes feel a lot more comfortable on their bikes and gain more power while they're out there cycling on the road. Okay, so let's start with the number one thing, and I bet some of you have already tried to put these on. Yeah, we're talking about your shoes, your cleats, specifically for road and triathlete cyclists who have pedals, clipless pedals. There are various different forms of pedals and cleats, but in general, a lot of athletes are going to be using this type of Shimano or Look style cleat. So I'll just give you a little instruction and tutorial of how I go about doing that. So I'll have the athlete put their shoes on. That's number one. I will feel around for various parts of their foot, like actual bony landmarks of their feet, just the base of the metatarsal bones. I will put a little sticker on it so I can show exactly where it is. And then I will see on the outside there where I want the cleat to line up. I'll have them put it back on. We'll get back on the bike here. They'll cycle around a little bit. I'll stop them at the very bottom. I'm going to check and see, is the pedal spindle in alignment with where those cleat marks are that I just made? Because that's very important. That's where you want your pressure to be in your foot. If your pressure is too far back and your cleat is too high, a lot of times you'll experience pressure soreness in different parts of your foot. Like for a while, I was experiencing foot pain after riding for about 2 hours. Then I have to walk around a little bit. Then I'd get a little bit better, but it was just something that I wasn't able to tolerate. And so I went to a bike fitter because it's really difficult to fit yourself. And we've adjusted the cleats as well. And so adjusting the cleats down and up we can actually rotate the cleats a little bit. And for that, we kind of look at your hip rotation too. We get into the details with that, but it's a physical therapy test that we can do to determine what way your hip kind of lands in neutral. So we can time it up with your foot position as well. Everything's all everything is all connected in the body. So something you do from here can affect something down there. We can rotate, we can go up and down, we can go side to side. And so that side to side motion is something we'll look at a little bit later, but for the basics, we just do kind of up and down, fore and aft. Have them put it back on, cycle again, check all of those. Then we start working on the saddle. So most important thing, is your height correct? So in the knee, we want a little bit of flexion or bent knee when your foot is all the way straight down. We want a little bit of knee flexion there. If you have too much knee flexion, you're really going to be pulling in your hamstring muscles on each and every pull. If you have too much extension, you're going to be really quad dominant. So taking into consideration maybe some various injuries that you might have had in the past, or if you're dealing with hamstring strain, we can kind of adjust the height little by little to bias those different aspects. So the height is really important. Then we go into what we call fore and aft, forward or backward of the saddle. And sometimes when people come in and they say, oh, I feel really scrunched, do we need to adjust my stem? Well, no, we don't need to do that first. That actually takes a lot more labor, parts intensive to do that. Let's start with the saddle, because we can adjust the saddle forward and backwards. And I've had people that have come in before and they say they feel really scrunched. They think they need to stretch out. We've been able to get the height right. That's helped a little bit. But then if we pull it back a little bit, that helps even more. And I'm able to assess that based on what their knee is doing when it's kind of in this flexed position. How far forward is your knee over your toes? That kind of stuff. So you can get the most power, but you can also be the most comfortable when you're riding. Now, the next thing we want to do is make sure that your tilt is correct. What is tilt? It's how far the nose is up or down on your saddle. And for a lot of you, you may not even realize that you can do that, but you can. You can adjust how far down it's tilted and how far up it's tilted. If it's tilted further up, you're going to be sore down in that area. You're also going to be wanting to be more in an upright position. It's going to tilt your pelvis backwards. If we're tilting the nose down, you're naturally going to be tilting your pelvis forward or anterior. Pressure is going to be a little bit different in the saddle region when we do that. Pressure on the aerobars or the handlebars is also going to be different. If you're tilting down more, you're going to put a little bit more pressure forward. So that can also affect hand numbness, shoulder, elbow positioning, so all of that. So we can do a lot of great things just by getting that saddle in the right position for you. Other factors to consider. So from there, we've got the cleat placement, we've got the saddle, height, fore, aft, tilt, all that good stuff. Now we're going to go on to either the front end, or we can go kind of from the front, looking at your hip and knee alignment. That's where we get into more of the details of the cleat rotation, the cleat lateral medial movement. We can look and see down the road if you need anything like a shim in the shoe. So that we can go two directions, right? So we go either to adjust the cleats for hip, knee, foot, make sure that's all in alignment, or we can go to the front here. It really depends on what your complaints are. If you're not having any pain, we want to just kind of come to the front here, make sure that this is in a good position, that you're in an aerodynamic position, that you're able to get kind of those elbows tucked in a little bit more if you can tolerate it, if you're not too broad shouldered, and if you have good external rotation of your shoulders. So getting into that nice tight position. Also making sure that the length of this is comfortable, right, from elbow to hand, so you can shift appropriately. You can be comfortable when you're doing that. There's various different things we can look at. Nowadays, the like my tri bike currently would be considered like an old tri bike, because it doesn't have this integrated system in the front. There are a lot of newer end tri bikes that have an integrated system, which means that we're no longer swapping out stems. If you need to swap out the stem, then you're swapping out the whole system in the front, the bars included. They also have this height stack that you can increase. Like for here, I can't really increase how tall this is going or how high this is going without increasing the rise on the stem here. But with some of the integrated systems, you can actually increase it with this little piece that comes, and there's various different sizes that you can use to increase that. The reason why you may want to go up most of the time is back issues, kind of preserving your back. Other issues could be like I've had in the past. I had an underlying gallbladder issue that I didn't realize, and I had terrible reflux. I was not able to tolerate being in the drops so low and drinking. And so I wanted to raise the front end. So that would be another reason. Like some people might have GERD in their history, or some, maybe a small hiatal hernia, something like that. And you just can't tolerate being in that really low aerodynamic position to take in food and water. I mean, food and nutrition, which is what you need to do during these long distance events, half Ironman, full Ironman, even Olympic distance. It's really important to get that nutrition in on the bike. So those are various reasons why we might want to adjust that area as well. So for the most part, I've covered the basics of what we look at, what we can adjust. Of course, there are some other fine details that we can go into if none of those things are fully resolving the issue. Like you could look at your saddle width, make sure that the saddle that you actually have on your bike is going to be appropriate for your size. And then other things like adjusting the cranks out. But that takes it into a more fine detail. A lot of times for most athletes, just getting all of these things in order and getting the basics down is going to really benefit you. So if you've listened to all of this, if you've made it this far, I do offer bike fits in the Austin area. So I offer bike fits right here in Round Rock. And then I also offer bike fits in South Austin at a gym called Grip. So if you are close to any of those locations and you want to schedule with me, please go to the link that's in my bio. I have my schedule on there. You can directly plan from that website. If you have any questions for me, you can send me an email, stephanie@r3endurance.com. It's also in my bio as well. Y'all have a great day.